You know, in the NFL, you can't outrun your mistakes forever. The bill always comes due. And for the Green Bay Packers, after a really tough 2025 season, oh boy, has that bill arrived. Today, we're going to break down an absolutely brutal offseason, one that is forcing the front office into some excruciating choices that are going to completely reshape this team's identity. Welcome to NFL Nexus, and we're explaining the incredibly high cost of a failed season in Green Bay. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss one of our deep dives.
And the whole story, every single painful decision we're about to talk about, it all starts with this one ugly number. Just look at that, negative $1.59 million. So what does this actually mean? Well, for those of you who don't live and breathe the NFL salary cap, and honestly, who can blame you, this is a huge red flag. It means the Packers are over the league's spending limit. They are literally in the red. So before they can even think about signing a draft pick or bringing in a single free agent to help the team, they first have to cut players and slash salary just to get back to zero. It's like starting a race from behind the starting line, and teams get here by constantly pushing money into the future, kicking the can down the road. Well, for Green Bay, they've hit the end of the road. This isn't just a challenge, it's a financial straitjacket, and it's forcing their hand on everything.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. We're not just going to be looking at spreadsheets, right? We're diving into the painful domino effect. How does one single season that falls short of expectations create this ripple that ends up knocking over player after player and even sends shockwaves through the coaching staff? It's a cascade of consequences where the disappointment of last year directly fuels the agonizing decisions of this year. We're going to see how that crushing financial pressure forces a proud organization to tear down parts of its own foundation, all in the desperate hope of building something stronger.
To really get why this offseason hurts so much, you first have to remember the vibe heading into 2025. There was pure electricity. The Packers went completely all in, making this massive blockbuster trade for superstar pass rusher Micah Parsons. This wasn't just some minor tweak. This was the move. They sent away a boatload of draft picks, signaling to the entire league that it was Super Bowl or bust in Green Bay. But then, December, the absolute worst happens. Parsons, the engine of their entire defense, tears his ACL. It was an instant, devastating blow. A defense that had been terrorizing opposing quarterbacks was suddenly toothless. The team just completely lost its identity, sputtered down the stretch, and, unbelievably, failed to even make the playoffs. It was a spectacular failure.
All right, so that's the setup. A team with huge expectations that fell flat on its face. And that leads us right here to the first and honestly the most brutal part of this story, the cap casualties. This is the ugly side of the business, right? This is when the spreadsheet tells you that you just can't afford to keep your own guys. We're talking about good players, fan favorites, guys who have poured their hearts out for the team. But in this new reality, their talent is outweighed by the big, scary number on their contract. It's where loyalty hits a brick wall called the budget.
So let's kick things off with a guy that's got to be a tough one for Packers fans to swallow. Wide receiver Romeo Doubs. Look, he did everything you could ask for last season. He really came into his own, having his best year as a pro with 55 catches, over 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, are those all pro numbers? No, but they are incredibly solid, dependable stats for a quality starting receiver. He became a genuinely reliable target, a guy you could count on. He's exactly the kind of homegrown player you'd think a team would bend over backwards to keep.
And for all that hard work, for having his best year yet, he's looking at a payday of around $12 million a year. And listen, he's earned it. But that's where the problem starts for Green Bay. On the one hand, you have a player you drafted and developed who's hitting his stride. The logical thing is to pay him. But for a team that's already in the red, that $12 million isn't a salary. Man, it's a mountain they just can't climb. It's money they desperately need to patch up 3 or 4 other spots on the roster. It's just brutal math.
And this right here, this slide just lays out the dilemma perfectly. It's a tale of two realities. On one side, you have what Romeo Doubs is worth on the open market. Another team, one that throws the ball all over the yard, might look at him and say, that's our future 1,000-yard receiver. His price is based on that potential. But then you flip it and look at Green Bay's reality. Their offense is built to spread the ball around. They were 22nd in passing last year. No single receiver gets a massive target share. So for them, a $12 million receiver isn't a need, it's a luxury. A luxury they're convinced they can replace in the draft for a fraction of the cost. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's a huge bet on their system over a player they developed.
Okay, if you thought the Dobbs situation was tough, buckle up, because this one is a gut punch. Let's talk about left tackle Rasheed Walker. This is the ultimate underdog story, right? A 7th-round pick.
A guy who's basically a lottery ticket, an afterthought in the draft, and through sheer hard work, he blossomed into a fantastic pass protector. This is the guy you trust to protect your multi-million-dollar quarterback's blind side. It's a massive developmental win for the organization, the exact kind of player every single GM dreams of finding late in the draft.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, that incredible success has a price tag, and it is a monster. We're talking a projected salary of over $20 million a year. So why so much? It's simple supply and demand. He's not just good, he's expected to be the #1 left tackle available in free agency. Think about it like this. Good left tackles are like beachfront property in the NFL. There's not much of it, and everybody wants it. Teams with cap space are going to line up to throw money at him. And you know what? He's earned every single penny of it.
So, letting a guy like that just walk out the door, it sounds completely insane, right? But it's not. It's a painful, calculated risk that they're pretty much forced to make. That $20 million number is just a non-starter. The only reason they can even consider it is because they have other talented and much cheaper guys on the roster like Jordan Morgan or Zach Tom who they think can slide over and play left tackle. Now, it's not a perfect fix. It's like playing Jenga. You pull a piece from one spot to plug a hole somewhere else, and you just hope the whole thing doesn't collapse. But it saves them that desperately needed cap space.
And the pain train just keeps on rolling. The hits keep on coming. Our last player casualty is another homegrown guy, a former first-round pick, linebacker Quay Walker. This isn't some role player. He's been a core piece, the traffic cop in the middle of that defense for 4 years. He calls the plays, gets everyone lined up. He's a sound, reliable tackler who has been a constant presence. He's been a true mainstay for them.
Now here's the crazy part. His market value? A totally reasonable $8.3 million a year. This is not a player trying to break the bank. This is what a guy like him should get paid in today's NFL. It's a fair price. But remember that negative number we started with? Reasonable and fair just aren't in the Packers' vocabulary this year. Even that perfectly normal salary is too much for them to take on. It's another good player getting squeezed out by the cap.
So, what do? How do you replace a starting middle linebacker with no money? Well, you pull out the classic NFL general manager's playbook for when you're broke. Step 1, you let your guy test the market. You don't even try to compete. You just wave goodbye. Step 2, you go bargain hunting. Maybe sign a cheaper, older veteran on a 1-year prove-it deal to hold down the fort. And step 3, you pin all your long-term hopes on the NFL draft, hoping to find his replacement on a cheap rookie contract. The entire goal is to try and find about 80% of his production for maybe 50% of the cost. It's a huge gamble, but it's the only play they have.
So we've got a receiver, a left tackle, a linebacker, all core pieces, all likely gone. But a season this disastrous, this disappointing, the damage is never just contained to the roster. It seeps into the walls of the building, it affects everyone's morale, the pressure becomes immense, and it can have a profound, unexpected impact on the coaching staff. So that brings us to the next question. What happens on the sidelines?
And that leads us to a part of this story that nobody saw coming. A sudden, pretty shocking coaching change. And let me be super clear about this. This was not a firing. The team did not want this to happen. This was a resignation. A guy walking away on his own terms, which reportedly sent some real shockwaves through the organization.
The coach in question is Rich Bisaccia, the assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. Now, this is a huge deal. This isn't just some position coach. Bisaccia is a veteran, a guy with a ton of respect around the league, and more importantly, in that locker room. His title of assistant head coach meant he had a major voice on the whole team and a very close relationship with the head coach. His departure leaves a massive void.
And the reason he left, man, this is where the story gets really human. This wasn't about him getting a better offer somewhere else. It wasn't about a contract dispute or some kind of power play. This was all about the crushing weight of a lost season and one man's personal sense of accountability and failure.
ESPN's Adam Schefter, who knows everything, really hit the nail on the head with this. He reported, and I'm quoting here, "He felt like he failed Matt LaFleur last year. He probably felt like he certainly failed him this year." Just let that sink in for a second. This is a guy who felt he personally let his head coach down, not just last season, but the one before that too. And that feeling apparently aided him so much that he decided he had to walk away. It's a powerful and raw look at the intense pressure these coaches put on themselves.
So let's dig into this a little more, because there are layers here. This wasn't some knee-jerk reaction. Apparently, he'd been thinking about this for over a year.
And it's interesting, because while fans were often frustrated with the special teams, which were statistically below average, the players absolutely loved the guy. They respected his old-school, no-nonsense style. But the most crucial point here is the timing. By stepping down this late in the game, he's really put the Packers in a tough spot. Most of the top coaches are already hired, so Green Bay is left scrambling.
Okay, so let's take a step back and look at the wreckage. We've got holes on offense and defense because of money, and now a huge hole on the coaching staff because of emotion and a sense of failure. The front office now has this monumental task of trying to pick up the pieces, navigate this aftermath, and somehow rebuild this roster with one hand tied behind its back. It is an incredibly daunting job.
And this chart really just puts it all in black and white, doesn't it? It's the exodus list. It's the casualty list from one bad season. You've got Romeo Doubs, too expensive for his role. Rasheed Walker got too good, too expensive. Quay Walker, a straight-up victim of the budget crunch. And finally, Rich Bisaccia, whose exit had nothing to do with money and everything to do with a personal sense of failure. You can draw a straight line from the disappointing 2025 season to every single name on this list.
And really, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that these are not 4 separate stories. It's one story. It's the story of what happens when a tight budget collides with the desperate, urgent need to win now. In the NFL, you don't get rebuilding years when you have a franchise quarterback. The pressure is always on. It's a brutal part of the game. What do you think about these moves? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button.
Which all leads us to the ultimate multi-million-dollar question, or in Green Bay's case, the negative $1.59 million question. This front office is facing an incredible high-wire act with no safety net. They have to find a way to get better after losing talent on offense, defense, and the coaching staff, all with no money to spend. So, can they pull it off? Can they thread this incredibly narrow needle and actually rebuild a contender on the fly? Their entire season, maybe even the next few years, hinges on the answer to that question. Thanks for watching NFL Nexus, and don't forget to check out our awesome coloring books. They're perfect for fans of all ages, for your kids, your grandkids, or even for you. The link is right there in the description. We'll see you next time.